Research allows you to follow your passions, gain new skills, improve your problem solving abilities, and push yourself in new directions. According to Zara Lian, research is important because it is a tool for building knowledge and facilitating learning. It is also a means to understand issues and increase public awareness. Research helps us succeed in business, and it is a means to find, gauge, and seize opportunities. Research promotes a love of confidence in reading, writing, analyzing, and sharing valuable information. And it provides nourishment and exercise for the mind. Today, we will learn one of the important components of doing research, and that is research design or designing a research. So, what is a research design? Research design is the overall strategy that you choose to integrate the different components of the study in a coherent and logical way, thereby ensuring you will effectively address the research problem. It constitutes the blueprint for the collection, measurement, and analysis of data. Its function is to ensure that the evidence obtained enables you to effectively address the research problem logically and as unambiguously as possible. Researchers frequently begin their investigations far too soon, before properly considering what data is needed to answer the study's research question. Without prior consideration of these design concerns, the results drawn are likely to be weak and persuasive, failing to adequately address the broader study topic. Hence, it is important to design research meticulously. A good research design can identify the research problem clearly and justify its selection. It can also review previously published literature associated with the problem area and clearly and explicitly specify hypotheses. Here is his questions central to the problem selected. It also effectively describes the data which will be necessary for an adequate test of the hypothesis and explain how such data will be obtained. And it can describe the methods of analysis which will be applied to the data in determining whether or not the hypotheses are true or false. These important indicators will avoid problems in the research process and will lead you to achieve your objectives. But how do we design good research? The following are the steps in designing research. The first step is you have to consider your aims and approach. The second one is you have to choose a type of research design. Within both qualitative and quantitative approaches, there are several types of research design to choose from. Each type provides a framework for the overall shape of your research, and this is where our discussion will focus on. But before that, let's continue the process or the steps. The third step is to identify your population and sampling method. Next is to choose your data collection methods. Next is to plan your data collection procedures. And lastly, you have to decide on your data analysis strategies. Before you can start designing your research, you should already have a clear idea of the research question you want to investigate. There are many different ways you could go about answering your research question. Your research design choices should be driven by your aims and priorities. Start by thinking carefully about what you want to achieve. It boils down to what is your choice? Is it qualitative or quantitative approach? To give you the differences between qualitative and quantitative approach, the following are their differences. In qualitative approach, you get to understand subjective experiences, beliefs, and concepts. You can also gain in-depth knowledge of a specific context or culture. In qualitative approach, you can explore under-researched problems and generate new ideas. While for the quantitative approach, you can measure here variables and describe frequencies, averages, and correlations. You can also test here hypotheses about relationships between variables. You can also test the effectiveness of a new treatment product or a program. These approaches will lead us to the design that we want to choose, whether it is a quantitative research design or a qualitative research design. A quantitative research design tend to be more fixed and deductive, with variables and hypotheses clearly defined in advance of data collection. As for the qualitative research design, these tend to be more flexible and inductive, allowing you to adjust your approach based on what you find throughout the research process. So if you have already chosen what type of research you are going to take, it is now time to choose the most appropriate research design. The following are common types of quantitative research design. We have experimental design, quasi-experimental design, correlational design, and the descriptive design. Let's tackle first experimental design. Experimental research is often used where there is a time priority in causal relationship, that is, cause precedes effect. This involves manipulating an independent variable and measuring its effect on a dependent variable. Usually, they are grouped. Subjects are grouped randomly and are usually conducted in a controlled environment, for example, in a laboratory. Some of the examples are the following. You may want to know how temperatures affect soil respiration, or you may evaluate employees' skill by conducting tests that are used to screen out less qualified candidates. The second type is the quasi-experimental design. This is still used to test causal relationship. This is also similar to the experimental design, but this does not have a random assignment and involves comparing the outcomes of pre-existing groups, and usually these are conducted in a natural environment. Some of its examples are the following. You may try out a new therapy to treat similar patients who have chosen to stick with the normal protocol. Or an example is a research on two boys of the same age who live in the same poor neighborhood, attend the same schools, and have access to the same opportunities. Then if one boy is on his way to Harvard University after graduation, and the other is a high school dropout who sells drugs, quasi-experimental research can evaluate the variables that led to these outcomes. The next one is correlational design. Correlational design is used to test whether how strongly variables are related. Then variables are measured without influencing them. Some of the examples of these are, for example, a researcher is studying a correlation between cancer and marriage. Is there a relationship between cancer and marriage? Another example is, are wealthy people less likely to be patient? So does this mean that if you are wealthy, you are less patient? The last one is the descriptive design. This design is used to describe characteristics, average, trends, etc. Variables are measured without influencing them. For example, is a school district wishes to evaluate teachers' attitudes about using technology in the classroom, or if you're a specialty food company, you want to investigate flavors of barbecue rubs that are favored by different people. Next type of research design is the qualitative research design. We have the case study, ethnography, grounded theory, and phenomenology. Let's start on the case study. Case study is all about a detailed study of a specific subject, especially like those places, events, organizations, and data can be collected using a variety of sources and methods. This also focused on gaining a holistic understanding of the case. Some of the examples include an investigation into the reasons of the global financial and economic crisis of 2008 to 2010. Another example is a study on Jeannie, who was a young girl subjected to horrific abuse and isolation. So it's more of investigative in nature. The second one is ethnography. This is a detailed study of the culture of a specific community or group, and the data is collected by extended immersion and close observation. This also focuses on describing and interpreting beliefs, conventions, social dynamics, and others. Some of the examples include a researcher may study a group of employees at a business consulting agency to determine the work culture, or an ethnographer may study a village of indigenous people on an island to observe their culture and customs outside modern civilization. The third one is grounded theory. The term grounded theory denotes dual reference. First is a method consisting of flexible methodological strategies and products of this type of inquiry. So if you have the method, then you have the product. This also aims to develop a theory inductively by systematically analyzing qualitative data. Some of the examples include you can use grounded theory to model visitor experiences at heritage sites. Also, you can use this to study student perceptions of instructor presence in online classes. The last one is phenomenology. This aims to understand a phenomenon or event by describing participants' lived experiences. Some of the examples include phenomenological research on lived experiences of women undergoing breast biopsy, and you can also investigate on what it is like to survive a plane crash. I think that is it about research design, its definition and purpose. Thank you for listening.